not kick me out when she found out. She's like, we're going to work on this. I mean, I remember my older daughter, Michelle. I mean, she probably said one of the most bold prayers out loud at the kitchen counter that night about, like, this will not destroy our family. You know, God is, we are going to beat this. We will get through this.
Good morning. Welcome back to Jacob's Tent. Thanks for coming back. Today we're going to have an interesting conversation with someone that I find genuinely interesting, and I'm happy to have brought into my village and into my friend circle to kind of go through how someone in your profession has learned or is trying to learn or is practicing making sense out of things that don't make sense, whether it be what you do for a profession, in your life, in your marriage. But I'm super excited to have you on. Thank you for agreeing to come on. I think this conversation is going to be impactful. Dr. Jim Epperly, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I think it's great that we've, come together and we've met on personal levels, talking about some medicine stuff. And, haven't had too much experience talking about life, but, we hear each other's stories somewhat peripherally. So I'm glad to have this opportunity. Yeah,
and we were talking about before we got started here is I've fallen into some friend circles that I really cherish and I'm growing in, and they're men just kind of chasing after the Lord. And when I mentioned that I asked you to come on, one of them was like, dude, his testimony changed my life. And for that person to reach out, or for that person to say that, and slowly building that friendship and being openly vulnerable with him, for him to let me in on that side, but then also bring you up was really impactful, and it kind of excited me to have this conversation. So again, super excited, and I really appreciate you taking time out of your day and away from your family to do this. So thanks.
I mean, I find it, I'm very blessed and thankful that, somebody had said that my testimony helped them, because it's all about, helping the one.
Yeah.
Going after the one. So, I mean, that's a blessing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, when you're going through things, you're really thinking about yourself and how you're going to make it through.
Yeah.
But you don't really realize on the other side that God's using that to help another in a similar situation. So, I mean, after going what I've gone through and what me and my wife have gone through, that's the one thing that we look forward to, is that opportunity to be that blessing for somebody else who may need it now. And we see that as our mission.
That's a great way to kind of just get into it a little bit. So, and remind me, if you're comfortable, your wife's name?
Kathy.
That's right. So I tell people there are two women outside of my wife at our church that I look at. I'm like, you are, in the best way possible, you are kind of scary. And one is my buddy Charlie's wife, Bree. She's very, very direct. But anytime I see Kathy, I'm like, well, she's scary. I don't, like, in a good way, where she strikes me as one of those people, like, if she gets her hooks in you, she's gonna give you the word.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a good thing, but she's not going to hold back, because, you're the same way, and I can only imagine the two of you are very much similar in that space where, if
she's
you find
actually
somebody who needs
been a huge influence on my life.
Yeah.
Her faith walk and her relationship with Jesus was truly inspiring, and part of what led me to Jesus.
That's beautiful.
Usually they talk about, women going first or men leading and who's going first, but I'll be honest, it was her that led me to Jesus, more than me leading her, obviously.
I think that,
and she's not that scary. I mean, she will give you some truth. She'll spell some truth, but she grew up in an Italian household, 1 to 9, so she knows how to hold her own.
Yeah.
But yeah, she, as her girls would say, she used to be all black and white. There's no gray with her.
Yeah.
And used people couldn't understand that, but now when it's truth and non-truth, it's more. You can appreciate it more now that she's going to speak truth in you, but she's going to be, sincere. And she's going to always point you to Jesus. So.
Yeah, that's a very, very beautiful way of putting it. Is not having black and white, no gray. It's just truth and not truth. And so, kind of on that topic of, like, you and your wife, and kind of, I would love to maybe go backwards a little bit in your life, if you could, and wherever you're comfortable with kind of giving your testimony a little bit. What makes, or what has made Jim, and how did you end up kind of going through your life, getting into the medical profession, doing what you do now, which, correct me if I'm wrong, right now you're not an obstetrician, is it?
No, emergency medicine.
Emergency medicine.
Yep.
Emergency medicine. I have friends that work in the ER, and I've talked about this before. Like, you see stuff, so like starting kind of in that beginning space, like how have you landed where you are now?
Well, I'm the oldest of three. Grew up with a 2-parent household, but through years of counseling, kind of was figured out that I kind of grew up in a absent father household, if you want to say it that way.
Yeah.
My dad was really good at being the provider, but not emotionally available. We always used to say growing up, if we wanted to know how our dad felt about us, we'd have to listen to his conversations with other people. So, like, we would stand in line at Disney World, and like he'd be complete stranger just telling it all, and we'd be looking at each other like, he didn't talk the whole ride here. Like, what's happening? Who
is this guy?
Yeah, who is this guy? But we grew up Catholic. Did what I call, and what I've come to find now, the traditional faith thing. Like, so your faith is just based on your parents and your parents' parents, and it's just what you grow up with, and you don't really have that relationship. You have, a religion. Really.
Yeah. It's their religion, but you are just taking part, type of thing. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so I was the oldest grandson on both sides.
Okay.
Oldest son. So I'll be honest, I was treated somewhat like golden child, put on a pedestal.
Firstborn.
Firstborn. So I think that kind of molded me to, without knowing it, have some sense of entitlement.
Okay.
Some sense of pride.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm somebody, because
all
these people in my life tell me that I'm somebody.
If you ain't first, you're last, Ricky Bobby.
Right. As we used to say with the girls growing up, second is the first loser. So I don't know what you're gonna do.
Yeah, figure it out.
Figure it out. So going through that period, just kind of was floundering. I didn't have any, like I said, really any male guidance. Mm-hmm. We had a very, on both sides on the spectrum, my dad's family and my mom's, a matriarchal kind of setup. Both of my grandfathers died when I was younger, so when I was 2 and 11, they died. So it was my grandmother's, and then looking at my aunts' relationships, like they ran the relationships, and men took a back seat. So I didn't know what a male leader looked like. And like I said, I was just into doing my thing. When you're Catholic, you can show up on Saturday and say, like, I did this bad thing this week.
And nobody bothers.
You're good, and then go back out and do it again next week. So there was no real repentance there. I didn't know anything about that. So fast forward, I was looking for something different, and I was never really independent, because I never really felt comfortable or knew how to be independent, because I was never taught. You know. So fast forward to meeting my wife. She was going through a divorce. She had 2 girls, and we connected, and I basically joined her life.
Okay.
So she had a life established. She had a house. She had a job, and she had 2 girls, and we had made an agreement, like, this works, and she'll even tell you and admit to you, like, we were all out of order. Like, God sets an order in the Bible for relationship, for marriage, for the way things work, and we were completely out of order, and our roles were reversed, and it was really, from the beginning, just not right.
Right.
So I moved into her life, and she even told me up front, she's like, I don't want to get married again. I have these 2 girls. They come first. And I was like, and there was a part of me, obviously, that was like, cool, you do you, I'll do me. We'll make it work. I'll have a nice house to live in, and I'll figure it out.
Cool. Boxes are in check. This is great.
Yeah, we're good. So we busy with the girls, raised the 2 girls, and I met them when they were 4 and 11.
Okay.
Really, I was like I said, when my wife was, earlier in her life, she was black and white. So she was kind of the authoritarian. And I was like more of the hugger and more of the friend. Because I didn't have to be the disciplinarian. They're your kids. You can discipline them, but I'll give them a hug.
It's like the dope
we'll be
boyfriend.
Friends.
Yeah, the dope boyfriend. It's like he just comes over, he brings candy, we watch movies, and then mom has to come in and ruin all the fun.
Right. So, but through that, I really did develop a great relationship with both girls. they kind of looked at me as, I mean, their fathers are actually in their lives somewhat, but I was there full time, and they did consider me a father figure.
Yeah.
Or consider me dad because I was there for all the highs, all the lows.
Yeah.
But even then, I didn't take the role seriously. I took it for granted, if you want to say it.
Okay.
Because one, I didn't know how to really be a father, a role model, and like I should have been the one saying, "You're not going out in that outfit.
Yeah, yeah.
You're not going with that boy." But no, my wife was breaking up with boyfriends. She was, she did all that.
Yeah,
I didn't have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
So in me being able to do what I wanted to do, I figured out my career path. And being, like I said, I came into her life, and she was pretty well off. So I felt like I had to find something that could live up to this standard of living, right? So it's talk about the rat race, and you have to like get more, be more, find more. So I was always interested in science and anatomy and fitness in the body. So I'm like, let's be a doctor. I was a physical therapist first.
Yeah.
Always wanted to be a doctor, so I was like, let's be a doctor. And she's like, yeah, that's great. You go be a doctor, and I'll support you in that.
Awesome.
So, of course, I feel like, not that I don't want to help people and didn't want to help people, but my priority was a paycheck.
Yeah, chasing money. Yeah.
Chasing money.
Yeah.
So, did that, and in that adventure, because I didn't have money, I also had concerns over money. So, finances would be one of my crux where I worry about it. Do I have enough? Do I hold on to it and don't let it go?
What Rothschild, in an interview, they asked him, like, how much money is enough money? And at this point, he was like the richest person in the world. And he goes, just a little bit more.
Right.
So it's in, I think it's in every person, and anybody that's worth a little bit of their salt goes,
yeah. But you're like the squirrel that found the last nut, and you hoard it.
Yeah.
You don't want to let it go because you're afraid there's not going to be more out there, which is
asinine.
Completely asinine concept. I mean, I'm still
a lot of trees. I'm
still going to work. I'm still getting a paycheck every month.
Yeah.
But so that was trying to live up to previous husband's salary, maintaining the lifestyle that they had developed.
Yeah.
That was a lot of pressure on me internally. I never expressed this to her whatsoever.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
100%.
So like I can totally understand, from, not to jump in there, but from your space, like, where Grace grew up, like, a lot of her friends do well, and they have a lot of things, but they also come from families that do really, really well. It's like one of the things I struggle with Grace, and I still struggle to this day, is like, I want to be able to give her everything. And like, granted, we are in a much different life space. I think one out of all of her childhood friends is getting ready to have her first child. And so it's like, her friends go to like Miami to the F1 race, or like they, and they're lovely people. This isn't me besmudging any of them, but like they do these great things. Like two of them just picked up and said, you know what, we want to go live in Paris, or we want to go live in France, and then they're gonna, and those are the ones who are coincidentally having a child. But Grace and I always want to be able to go on vacation, so it just throws us into that rat race of being like, I want more, get more, work more, and it's so I completely understand.
Yeah, and even while the girls were growing up. As I was going through medical school or becoming a doctor, like my younger daughter went to a friend's school, Morristown Friends School, and we would always tease we were the poorest kid in the class. Like,
Artie goes to Friends School, Wilmington.
Yeah. So I mean, these people had some major bucks, and this were our friends groups because we hung out with these people. So you're seeing all these things, and you're like, I got to make that happen. Keep up with the Joneses, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which never goes well.
No,
at all.
You never can run as fast as some people.
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, but honestly, through all this stuff, aside from the money and the chasing a lifestyle that wasn't me, like I always had a problem with lust.
Okay.
Because for me, I never had any kind of a high self-esteem or self-worth because I didn't know where to find that.
Yeah.
So for some reason, and I learned this, and I don't know how it happened because I don't remember any history of abuse or anything of that nature, but through therapy, they said I was sexualized at a young age. Not sure what that means, but I mean, I can see it in my siblings and in my, what's going on with us.
Yeah.
I think all of us had something happen. Somewhere along the line, sex was a thing, or maybe for me, it was like finding self-worth. Like, I can get this girl to sleep with me.
Yeah.
That means something. That means something.
Yeah.
So it was a game. and then like obviously you get caught up in porn a little bit when I was in my mid-20s, which is a strange story because at one point my wife's ex must have been looking at porn or something.
Yeah.
And called my wife and was like, "Hey, I think there's a picture of you on this site." And she's like, "I don't. Yeah, that is not my wife whatsoever. Like, she doesn't even want to take a picture." Like with her family, she's like, I'm the camera person. I'll take the picture. You guys stand over there. And went on this site, and it was not her. Just a doppelganger, if you want to call it, but it definitely was not her. But that was a site. Like that was. Oh, I didn't know this was here.
Whoa! Look at that.
And then
well, let me make sure that there's no
right. That
let me double check.
Let me double check for you. I'm just gonna be here. I'm gonna police the site for you.
A couple weeks. Don't worry about it. Just make sure. Yeah. And then
that leads down a path. But I never confessed that out loud or had to have somebody help me deal with it. Like I kind of got out of that stage. I think what happened was I went the other way. Like this isn't satisfying. It's like the introduction drug, like marijuana is like, the introduction drug, and then you're going to get harder and harder. So for that, it was kind of the introduction drug. And then it was, this isn't enough to satisfy me. So it was like, let's have an affair.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that came from when I was gaining success at what I was doing and becoming this provider. I'm like, and I felt like, and I think a lot of people say this, and I've heard other people say this, like, I've done this. I'm a good person.
Yeah.
Nobody is good but God.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't understand. People say that all the time. He's a good person. I'm like, no, we're not good people at all. But I'm a good person. I do this. I take care of people. I take care of the house stuff. I'm good to the girls. I'm good to my wife when I'm home. I could do this over here.
I deserve this.
Yeah, I'm entitled to this.
Look how good I am. Look at all the things I'm doing. I deserve a reprieve from being so good all the time. Yeah. And it's such a danger. Yeah, it's a weird thing. Like, and I experience that in a different space. So like mine is like, I like things. Hi, my name's Austin, and I like nice things. So like, I struggle with that at a younger age, and of being, I deserve this. Like, I'm doing all these things, like, blah, 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 blah. Like, I'm just going to go spend this. And then I put myself in such a financial deficit that I have to dig myself out. Yeah. And I did that with Grace. Like, we put ourselves in financial places where it's like, we should not have done that. Like, what were we doing? So, yeah, I can totally understand.
But the craziness of it is that you chase it, you get it, and then you're guilty right after.
When you get it,
like, so convicted right after anything ever happened. Like,
gifts not from God always lead to guilt.
Always.
Every single time. That's something that I've learned recently is, the things that I've always that I thought I wanted. It's like you were saying, you hit the nail on the head. Like when I get them, I'm like, this is great. And then it's like, man, what? Oh, I should have been doing this instead.
Yeah.
Like, and every now and then, like, I'll get something that I didn't think I wanted. And it's like, this is the greatest thing ever. Like, this is great. And it's like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, that's that. Thank you, God. Like, I appreciate this. This is not what I realized I like, but I really enjoy it. Like, that's a real thing. Yeah. It's a real thing.
I mean, it's just, you sit there and you want more, you think you want something, you think you know what's right for you, and you get it, and it just doesn't fulfill.
Yeah.
So, went on, and, we were making our life here and got involved with an affair that had gone on for probably a year and a half, and my wife found out about it.
Yeah.
And make matters worse, she found out about it while we were having a party at our house with, like, people and family, and, like, just
the worst possible.
One of the worst
possible scenarios you could find out, aside from walking in on it happening. Yeah.
And she did not kick me out when she found out. She's like, we're going to work on this. I mean, I remember my older daughter, Michelle, I mean, she probably said one of the most bold prayers out loud at the kitchen counter that night about, like, this will not destroy our family. God is, we are going to beat this. We will get through this. And, I mean, the shame was ridiculous.
huge shout, and I've never had an interaction with either of your daughters. I've seen the oldest one was it the oldest one that was at church Sunday, or is it
shorter ones are older one with the baby.
Okay, yeah. So I saw her, and I've seen her in passing, but I've never like talked to them. But what a testament to the household that you have, to where they are so emboldened by their faith and their belief to stand there and be like, yeah, Dad, you messed up, or Jim, you messed up, but guess what? Now it's time to go to work.
Sure.
And I putting myself in that space, or trying to put myself in your shoes in that space. I can, like you said, the shame, like I can only imagine, like that's more crushing than if they'd have just been like, get out.
Right.
Like it's like that had to have been
right.
Like
it was more crushing.
Yeah.
And it was so crushing that I went in a worsening downward spiral of self-sabotage to try to make it seem like, no, I'm really not worthy of redemption or restoration. Like I've really wronged you all. So, I mean, they found out. And then when I tell you for probably the next 8 or 9 months, I kept trying to screw around, that's what I did. And my wife, it's amazing. My wife she'll tell you she's not computer savvy. She's not phone savvy. She's not anything savvy. But God was protecting her so much that he would literally just show her things and expose things. He brings all things into light.
Yeah.
Right? All darkness is going to be exposed. Everything's going to come into light. And it got to a point where she was like, you can stop showing.
Please
things.
stop.
Yes.
Thank you. Please stop.
Right. Yeah. Like, thanks for that. Please stop.
Wow.
So during, I guess it's over the next year, so Memorial Day, and then over through the next year through August, got kicked out of the house twice. Once in like November, and then reconciled, got back in December, and then got kicked out again in April, and was out through probably August.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I mean, when I say they did what they needed to do, they needed to protect themselves from me, because I was doing nothing but hurting them over and over again. So the unfortunate part is that my daughter that Christmas found out she was pregnant with, the grandbaby, and I kind of missed her whole pregnancy because they had to protect themselves and their kids, So they have 2 older kids, Maverick and Mia, who are awesome. And then they were going to have Michaela, and my son-in-law was protecting his family, which
that's a good.
Kudos to him.
Kudos to him. Kudos to him in that space, because that has to be hard.
Also, and he also stepped up and was like protecting my wife and protecting my other. Like he's like, all right, I'll take the role.
Yeah.
I mean, he's awesome at that. I mean,
yeah.
And then my other daughter, she totally distanced herself from me, and that took a while. And then my wife, kicked me out of the house. And the credit to my wife, though, she was never, despite what the secular friends would say, and I'm going to say secular friends versus Christian friends because it's a real thing.
Yeah.
The secular world is going to tell you, go get the lawyer, take him for all he's worth. Don't even
get your half and then some.
Take him for everything he's worth. And she would never badmouth me to anybody. She would always pray for me. Yeah. Pray for she knew that I was in a bad spot.
Yeah.
She wasn't willing to hurt herself and bring me back in, which is understandable. I don't blame her whatsoever. But, she was just such a godly wife in that time.
Wow.
And the thing that I couldn't understand is why I don't deserve this. Like, look at all I've done for you. I even look back now and I'm like, where was my headspace? What was I thinking? What was I doing? But it was her walk and her saying and finding that Jesus was enough. This doesn't work out and my marriage is done forever. Jesus is all I need. He is, my life. And she would give me grace, and she would give me mercy, and she gave me forgiveness. Yeah. And I never understood those concepts until I walked through this.
Wow. So
she pointed me to Jesus. And the other person that pointed me to Jesus, which is where, so you talk about different friend groups throughout your life. I can honestly say, I've never really had a true friend.
Yeah.
I've done my life in increments of high school, college, physical therapy school, medical school, service. Compartmentalized my life, compartmentalized everything, and just had everybody's had acquaintances.
Yeah, absolutely.
I went through my life, I'm like, I don't keep in touch with any of these people.
Yeah.
Never had a friend. There was one man who we became friends with, or acquaintances, just because his wife and my wife played tennis, and they were in the area. Jamie Swinson. Huge shout out to my brother Jamie. He's my lifesaver and he got me through it all.
Yeah.
But he agreed to meet with me weekly while I was going through this.
Wow.
And every week I'd show up, and you don't know how many weeks I showed up and been like, I screwed up again.
Yeah.
I screwed up again. I did this time. And I mean, he would like shake his head, but he would keep showing up every week.
Yeah.
Even his wife was like, what are you doing with this guy? He is a lost cause.
Yeah.
But he never gave up on me. And I never experienced that from another man before. And between him and my wife being Christ-like, I saw Jesus in a whole different way.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted. Now, unfortunately, it took me, a few more screw-ups and winding up in jail one night to have that true, real encounter with Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean,
rock bottom moment.
Oh yeah, I mean, unfortunately,
Nowhere to look but up.
You always say like you don't want to hit rock bottom. Like you don't you can stop at any point. You don't need to go all the way to the bottom to look up. Or to get to the rock bottom and realize that Jesus is the rock.
Yeah.
But I just remembered this clear encounter and him literally saying to me, he's like, "You are behind bars right now. You are in complete bondage. You are done." He goes, "That's what your heart is. Your heart is so bound up by all your shame and your guilt and all the things you worry about." He goes, "Just give me your heart and I will take away the chains." And from that moment on, I mean, I'm like, you have it.
You say something there that I think is, that I've said it on this before, and I'll continue to say it because it's something that I had to deal with in my life, is that, when you talk about that interaction that you have with God and him speaking to you, I think God, when I heard it, when I needed to hear it, it wasn't the enemy has you behind these bars and the enemy's locked. It's like you have you behind. Hell is locked from the inside.
Yep.
And hearing you say that, especially in that space and having that moment, it makes me think back to times in my life where I've had that interaction and be like, you have put yourself here. The way out is through me.
Yeah.
And it's such a real thing, and coming to the conclusion of that, whether it's where I was or somebody listening to whether it is, but where you were, I think is a real moment of. I would say I'd be more scared than like filled with joy, because then it's like I feel like when you hit that moment, when you're at that rock bottom and you're standing at the bottom of that pit that you dug yourself in, like looking up at that wall you now have to scale, is scary.
Oh yeah, and I had no idea how I was going to get out of that. I mean, and he even orchestrated something while I was in jail.
Yeah.
After that moment, like I was there, and the next day, I mean, I'm like orange jumpsuit in shackles, like shuffling into the courtroom, and they said, here's your bail, and I had to go back to the jail, but they didn't let me call anybody about the bail. They didn't let me do anything. They're like, we'll get to it. So I'm like, I'm starting to freak out. I'm like, what do you mean? Like,
what do you mean we'll get to it?
I can get out of this right now. Like I can, and so I'm sitting there and I'm waiting for them, and they're like, yeah, we'll get to it. And then all of a sudden they come to me like, come on. I'm like, where are we going? He goes, Gen Pop. I go, I'm sorry, what? I'm going to Gen Pop?
Yeah.
I go, wait, what? Like I was like, time to change my underwear kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, what is this? What is happening? And meanwhile, my wife is going away. She left to go to see her family.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I wasn't invited to because of everything that's going on. Where I was, And so I go and I get into my cell, and on the bunk is like the New Testament. Like, get out of town. I start reading it, and all of a sudden, like, my cellmate comes in, and it's this very pleasant elderly gentleman. He was in for like a DUI charge. He turned himself in, had to do his 8 months. He's like, yep. He was just totally chill.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do you make phone calls? Like, I don't know how this works. He's like, I got you. He's like, he goes, do you have a account? I go,
Yeah.
no, I've been here for 18 hours. I don't have anything. He's like, well, that's the only way you can make a phone call is if you have an account. He's like, you can have my card. Like when we get phone time.
Yeah.
And luckily that orchestrated me getting out.
Yeah.
And, just an update, that whole thing has been wiped from my record. There is no record of anything. That was just a big misunderstanding that has gone away.
Good. Yeah. Praise God for that.
Praise God 100%. It was only God.
Yeah.
But from that point forward, I went back to my hotel. My wife was beside. She's like, I don't know who you are. Like, what's happening? And I was bound to prove that I was different.
Yeah.
And I can just remember every day, I had a prayer journal, but it was a prayer journal for my wife. Every morning I would sit with God and I would pray for her. I wasn't praying for me anymore because it wasn't about me anymore.
Yeah.
It was about my family and it was about them being okay. And I had to be okay with the outcome because decisions come with consequences.
Yep.
Just because you're forgiven doesn't mean everything's back to normal.
Yeah.
I knew that I was forgiven. I knew that my wife forgave me, but could she trust me again?
Yeah.
That was going to be
forgiveness doesn't mean forgotten
at all.
Like those scars. I heard it in a song, in a Tyler Childers song, but there are scars you can cause that time alone can't heal, and it's very difficult. I struggle with this with my adopted mother, Rhonda. I struggle with this where I have outwardly gone to God and say, I forgive her. But I constantly am reminded of what happened. And the closer that I'm drawing to God, and the more that I'm seeking his face and really kind of trying to just walk with him. Not even run for him, just walk with him. He opens up those scars a little bit. And I've learned more recently that him opening those scars isn't necessarily to it's not to make me hurt. He doesn't want to make me hurt. But I think it's so that he can get in and remove anything that's still festering. Clear that scar tissue out. Sure. Not to try to be medical with you, but
I'm with you. But wound care 101, get rid of the dead stuff on top and let that healthy stuff underneath come out.
Get rid of the dead stuff, the things that the wounds that I've had bandaged and stitched that aren't getting better, and it's because I'm holding on to resentment or guilt or anger or just a lack of self-worth in this area. And the more that I interact with it, the more that I realize, this is what he's doing. But those scars are will take time. And I think about this and I pray on. I'm like, God, I don't know if I'll ever be able to allow that person back into my life.
Right.
But I outwardly say I forgive her for what she's done because that's hers to deal with. When her time comes, she's going to have to stand in your hand, and you're going to do what you're going to do. It's not my job to judge her, but man, is it hard to forget those things and to just let them go.
Yeah, well, I think it's 7 times 70, right? But it doesn't mean to keep going back to the same situation where you're going to keep having to forgive people, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, there is a point where you can, dust the sand off your feet, and move on, I had this issue with my brother recently. Unfortunately, we're not estranged, but we're not really talking terms.
Yeah.
He's the type of person that just can't get over the past. He'll say he's forgiven you, and then it comes back up, and it kept coming back up. I'm like, how many times do we have to? I thought, and then there would be conversations where at the end of the conversation, I'd be like, are we all good?
Yeah. He's like, yeah.
Okay. And I equated that because we were going through another book during Brotherhood, I believe, and it was like, why do I want to be in the presence of a Saul who's going to keep throwing spears at me?
Yeah.
That's not what I'm here to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not gonna stand in your presence and just keep being target practice.
That's a real thing. So thank you for giving that testimony. I didn't know 80% of that. So hearing that from you, it's a huge testament to where you are, and the biggest of praise and thank you for your wife.
100%.
Because
thank God.
her being that impactful in your life and your daughters too, that's a hard thing. I can only imagine on their part.
Yeah. I mean, the true blessing is that my older daughter, we literally reconciled right before she gave birth to Michaela.
That's amazing.
Her granddaughter. So, I mean, we went up there and sat down, and her and Corey, had the real conversation of, this is the way it is, and this is how
it's going to go. Yeah.
Right. And I totally respect that. You have to take your licks.
You got to take
that. I did that with friends. I mean, I had to sit at tables with friends, and I literally apologized to them for betrayal, for not being honest with them. And, you lose some friends. You gain some, you make some friends closer because they appreciate your vulnerability. Yeah. But that was truly a blessing. And then to be there when Michaela was born, not only was that was in September, but in August we had gone to Michigan.
Yeah.
Because Kathy's like, well, I'm still not over some things and I still need to heal. And the therapist we had been working with lived in Michigan.
Yeah.
So instead of doing a phone conference, I'm like, let's go out there for the weekend. And I wasn't even supposed to be involved in it. I was supposed to be like just supporting from peripheral.
Supporting from a distance.
But after the first day, or at the beginning of the first day, she's like, no, stay at the beginning and then we'll talk through some things. And we did like a whole day's worth of talking. And I remember Kathy and I going to bed that night. She's like, yeah, I don't think I'm ever getting over it.
Yeah.
Like, she literally said to me, we're done. I'm not going to get over it.
And you have to sit there. I can only imagine you have to be sitting there and be like, fair play.
Yeah.
Fair play.
Yeah.
Like, does it hurt? I mean, is it a dagger? Absolutely. But also, fair play.
Yeah, but I was there to support her in her decision. I needed her to figure it out because if she can't figure it out, then we can't be together, right?
Yeah, you can't force a relationship. You can't force that.
But the next day, this other woman came in, and I mean, it's my wife's story, but she had a true encounter with Jesus that day, and she had some stuff throughout her life that had kind of bound her up, and she had a chain analogy in her vision with Jesus. Which was funny. Like, she had all these chains, and there was this, like the big chunky ghetto chains.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was funny. Like, she's giving all these chains to Jesus. She said, I handed it to him, and they were all in a big jumbled mess. And you know what it's like to get a necklace untangled. Like, even if it's stuck on itself, you can't.
Yeah.
She said he was just
rolling it in your fingers.
She was just taking these issues and just pulling the chain out, and it was just loosening by itself, like one at a time. And the last one was this big chunky chain. She's like, I have no idea what that was, And then later on, she's like, that was Jim. I was the big chunky chain.
Yeah.
And Jesus was basically telling her, I have him. Yeah. You don't have. He's not yours. He's mine.
Yeah.
So
that's a beautiful vision to have.
Oh yeah,
convicting.
She has. I mean, she could tell you the whole vision she had. I mean, she truly had. I mean, he was with her and he was taking her through her healing right there in the room.
Yeah,
it was amazing. So
that's amazing.
And I had already planned it, and I had asked my therapist. She's like, I don't know if that's a good idea, but I already planned to actually ask her to marry me or to remarry me.
Yeah, yeah.
Depending on how it went. She's like, I don't know how it's going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I'll be honest with you.
Talk about move, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out for him.
Talk about being out of order, like when we were going through it, like it was our girls who were like, hey, we just bought this new house. Are you two ever going to get married? Like they were telling us, like, yeah, sure. And we put together a wedding. We got married,
Yeah.
I never really asked her to marry me.
Yeah.
So this time, after the day we had, like we went out to dinner that night, and I asked her to remarry me, and she said yes. And so the very next day, our therapist, who was a pastor, we had renewed our vows there. And
that's powerful.
Yeah, so
that's powerful. That's a powerful trip.
Yeah, so it was pretty crazy because the day we renewed our vows was 8/28.
Yeah,
so Romans 8/28.
Yeah,
so it was like
that's powerful.
Like, yeah,
that's really powerful. Yeah. There's no such thing as coincidences.
Right.
So, yeah.
So then that happened, and then the following month, the baby was born, and we were there for that. And that's
amazing.
I call me and Kathy tease and say Michaela's our redemption baby.
Yeah.
She's like just culmination of like
crap out of her.
Yeah, so.
I will say, like, seeing you in the small moments where I see her, like in your granddaughter come around, like it's very clear that she melts you.
Oh yeah,
like I watch you just kind of like, and I like to watch people, like, and not in a weird way, not in a peeping Tom way, but like when we're out, I always like take notice of people and their interactions with their loved ones and stuff. And like, I can't remember what you were doing this past weekend, but she like walked up to you and like even touched you, and you're just like, Like immediately, like you were engaged with somebody and you just stopped what you were doing, saw her, and just you could see just like everything kind of drop.
Yeah.
And just recognize that, like, man, she is something special. So that's a beautiful thing. But I would love to kind of pivot it a little bit and kind of get into where you are in this space now. Like looking back, something that I had a really awesome meeting with one of our pastors the other day, just kind of working through some of my stuff and hearing his testimony and just getting some nuggets from that is looking back through the lens you have now and being who you are now in this moment. How are you finding God in those moments and his steadfastness? You know, that's something that I'm working on in my own trials that I've had to deal with in my life, is looking back and saying, like, man, I was whether it was me being a bad person or the scenario that I'm in, that, you know, the perpetrator of that abuse and whatnot, where was God in that? And now I'm able to start, I'm trying to start looking for those moments and find his steadfastness in that storm, in that just mucky water. Like, where was Jesus in there coming in and saying, you know, waters, be calm? And, you know, you said something really powerful where, you know, Kathy had that moment and Jesus said, he's mine. Looking back now, where are you finding that, like, Jesus had already known that you're his?
He was pursuing me, and I knew he was pursuing me, but I was fighting, and I was running the other way.
That's a real thing.
Because I thought I knew better, and I didn't think I was worthy. So, firstly, you have to know that you are worthy of his love. You are the one.
Yeah.
Whether you're the only person in the history of the world to ever live on this planet, he died for you.
Yeah.
Not just for the masses, but for you, because he loves you, he knows you, he created you. Yeah. So knowing that you're worthy, and that's where your identity comes from, is from the love of Christ. That's huge, just to know that he's always going to pursue you, and he's always going to be that father from the prodigal son with his arms wide open.
Yeah.
Welcoming you in.
That parable, I think people talk about it, but the more I've been reading it and coming across it, the more I start to understand it, and it definitely softens my heart a little bit, to where it's like, sometimes I think I'm you know, the son who went away and wasted all of his stuff on wild living, but then sometimes I also find myself as the one who stayed, and I find myself thinking I deserve more just through proximity.
All right.
And it's such a powerful parable. I truly believe that. What is, like, when I'm really curious as to, like, that moment where you're sitting in jail and you're, like, at that low point. Like, what was, when you look back at that now, like, how do you make sense of that? Like, where in your mind was, like, you're like, dude, like, what is going on? Like, I can only imagine that you're in that space and you're like, dude, I have no idea what's going on. Like, how did I get here? Like, looking back at that now, is it more of, like, are you able to start being like, okay, A led to B led to C, I skipped over D, went straight to E. You know, are you able to do that through the lens of faith and then take that to God and be like, okay, let's take this and start to shape my life?
The thing that happened in that moment was I was willing to take the journey 18 inches down to my heart.
Ooh,
Jesus was always here.
Yeah.
I grew up knowing who Jesus was.
That's a good word.
And I, you know, and being the intellect that I am and always have been, like,
yeah,
I would study apologetics and I would read the Bible and I would be able to, it's in this part of the Bible. It's like, I knew God's word and I knew who God was, but even the Satan and the demons know that.
Yeah.
They just weren't willing to make him Lord.
That's a damn good word. The way you phrase that was good. Because, like, that's something that I think I see a lot, but also I see it more so in myself. Is like, I know who he is. I believe I know who he is, and I know what he's done because I've read it. And like you were saying, but you know, in Scripture says, you know, not all those who say Lord, Lord will be accepted into heaven. And it's like, and I've had people, like friends or people be like, well, I'm just I believe in God, so I'm going to go to heaven. It's like, no, like I believe in God. Like it's in my heart. And you saying that makes me think about that. Like, oh no, the things that I know, I also believe and I profess as they are true. And so like I can, applying that to myself, like in those moments, in those dark moments where I'm at the bottom, it's like, man, but I know that my focus is him. He is my source. And if that's where my heart is, then I'm okay.
Well, it's like my wife said, he has to be enough.
He has to be enough. Grace went through, she was doing a reading or had heard something, and she said, when it came to Jacob's tent and me starting this, she said, what is enough? Because my concern was, is this going to fail? And she was like, well, if you're doing it for God, nothing is a failure. Sure. She's like, but also, and I'm probably going to butcher this, so I'm sorry, Grace, but she said something along the lines of, maybe pray that, hey, God, I want this to be something huge, and I want it to be powerful, and I want it to influence people and bring people to God. And honestly, yes, I would love it to generate money and allow me to do this full time and provide for my family. But if all I get is 10 really good episodes and nothing financial comes out of it, but I have 10 good episodes where I have good conversation with people, that's enough for me. If I have one good episode, sure, that I have an honest exchange with somebody and I look back at that and say, man, that was great, that's enough, because you are enough. You provided me that opportunity to do that, and that's enough. And that's a real thing I think that I deal with. And I think I would offer that to anybody who's consuming this. Like, he's enough. And if you believe he's enough, he's going to give you more. Like, God gives good gifts to his children.
100%.
But you have to believe he's going to give you good gifts.
You have to have faith. But our faith, and I always chuckle at the term blind faith, because our faith is not blind. I mean, through the study of apologetics, Christianity is reality. I mean, it is the only truth that there really is. Yeah. It's the only thing that makes sense in this world.
Yeah.
So that's what we have to stand on.
Yeah. And I want to kind of shift again, or not again, but I want to shift now into where you are in present day and what you do for a living. How has that steadfastness and just reliability of the Lord, now that you are, how do you practice that in your profession? Because emergency medicine, you have to come across things that you're just like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Like, why did this happen? And you have families come in, and even those people that you're doctoring over, I'm sure they're like, why in those cases, like, why did this happen to me? In some cases, like, why. Like, sure, don't put that there. Right. Like, that doesn't belong in there. Don't do that. Right. But I've had friends that are in the emergency space, and like, they come home, and I know that, like, I pray that they have an encounter with the Lord, someone that they can turn to and say, God, I don't know what is happening, but you have that. Like, what does that look like for you?
There's times where I contemplate if it's a ministry for me or not. Like, and there has been times where I have had opportunities to pray with patients.
Yeah.
There has been opportunities where I've been able to share Jesus with patients. It's not every encounter.
Yeah.
But I try to stay open to the Holy Spirit's promptings, because I will get promptings while I'm at work. Like, you need to go in and say this, or you need to go in and ask them this. And each one of those where I have paid attention and listened to the promptings of the Spirit has led to fruitful conversation, fruitful prayer, or just a simple thank you from a family or a patient. Yeah. But it's not every patient, and there's so much sickness and disease that, before I came to know Jesus in my heart, I can compartmentalize it and I can kind of blow it off and I can just do my job.
Yeah.
But what I'm finding now is the closer I'm getting to Jesus, and the closer they say, like, see, think like Jesus and look at others the way Jesus would look at them. Like, there is a sadness when you see what's going on. But there's also a realization that we are in a broken world.
Yeah.
Bad things happen to good people. We don't understand them always. That's the mystery that won't be revealed to us until the end of time, I'm sure. But it's about trusting that God's plan is the best thing possible.
So something that I'm curious to hear how you decide. So being able to hear and have those moments where God's like, you need to go do this is fantastic. And that's a beautiful thing. But there's another side of that coin that I think is just as vitally important, and that's taking note when the enemy is speaking in those moments. So, like, do you ever wrestle with that in that space, in where you're like, where you see something happen and there's always a depiction of the devil on one side and the angel on the other, but that's a real thing.
That is a real thing.
People who don't believe in the devil, it's like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Right.
Well, I catch myself multiple times a day looking up and going, Jesus, how do you love us?
Yeah.
How? I don't understand it.
I don't understand.
The hardest.
Look at this.
The thing about loving people that makes it difficult is people.
Yeah.
They make it hard to love them sometimes. Yeah. I mean, and it's everything that sometimes it's the things you used to see in yourself, like the entitled person, the proud person, the arrogant person. And you're like, what? Like, and it just repulses you. Yeah. But you have to overcome that and
deal with it.
Like I've had several, you get pushed, or you're having a bad day, and you're human, and you fly off the handle, and I'll go and I'll sit down. I'll be like, that was not good.
Like I'm trying to, like, if I put a scenario, like the one space that and this is probably a good reason why I'm not a doctor in any capacity, is like I couldn't imagine having to do what you do and then get the scenario, which I'd be surprised if you hadn't ran into it, where like a drunk driver comes in and he's the one who lived, but then took out a beautiful family, and it's just like I don't know how I wouldn't be able to listen to the enemy in that space.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I dealt with that more in Philadelphia where I trained, because we would have a lot of shootings. Like, so one night, like a cop was shot by somebody, and then the guy was shot, and they both came in, and we had to take care of both of them.
Yeah, you have to.
You took care of both of them, like, and you just in that moment, you just do. You take care of things. I mean, I think the worst case I ever saw was a child abuse case, and the little boy, we worked on him for a while, and he wound up dying.
Yeah.
And then realizing what happened to him afterwards, like, that was enraging.
Yeah.
Like
how does that, so like when you think back, whether that's before kind of where you are now, or like even in today, and that's a very large thing, but I think what I'm curious to kind of get at is, how are you taking those moments and not and working with the Holy Spirit and working through God, through Jesus, and saying like, hey, help me see or show me or reveal to me what I'm supposed to learn here. I think, because one thing I think as a guy, as a husband, as a dad, granted it's a much smaller scale and not as drastic as something as that, but I think men generally struggle with being like, man, things are hard right now, and like we're not doing anything wrong. Like we're working, like you could take my own life for example. Like, God, we're chasing after you. I'm in brotherhood. I'm doing these things, blah blah blah, and then I get laid off, and and to me it throws my family into just a tailspin.
Sure.
And like pulling yourself out of that hole. I think any guy that's in that space, and if you're listening to this, and that's you, drop us some in the comments or something. But like, how have you found in that moment, whether it's ministering to somebody or even in your own, like going through and going through your reconciliation with your family, like, where did you find that source? The source obviously comes from Jesus, but like, where are you pulling and like working? Like, what was it, like a heart thing? Was it just reshaping the way that you approach? Was it addressing strongholds in your life and pulling those into light? Like, walk me through that, because that's something that I'm really curious about. Well, it's definitely
perspective. Just the perspective or the lens of, biblical perspective and the lens of Jesus, looking at that, because you can't make sense of it in your own mind.
Yeah.
And in the moment, in my job, in the moment, you're not thinking of those things.
Yeah.
It's in the debriefing afterwards when you sit at your desk and you take a breath and you're like, how do I process this?
And that weight just kind of gets you.
And then that weight just gets you. And then, I asked Jesus now, and I've learned to ask Jesus now, like, what do you want me to gain from this? What is my learning point? How do I become more like you, or what are you pruning in me now through this?
That's a good word.
That I can learn from and be better the next time, or keep going.
That's something I think I know so or truthfully I struggle with is I think in those moments I tend to lash out. I'm like, why are you doing this? Rather than, okay, what am I supposed to be learning here? I think that's a very real reaction for a lot of people, and obviously for Jacobson and focus on guys. But I think guys do that a lot, where it's a lashing out of like, why are you doing this? And then it's also comes back at us and be like, man, I am just a failure right now.
Sure. Rather
than looking through through what you're saying, looking through that lens of Jesus, like, okay, what are you trying to show me? Sure. What and yeah, I just think that's a real.
Well, I think it's always you got to go back to perspective, because the one person that you can really look to in this example would be Job, right?
That's my favorite book in the Bible.
Yeah. So he loses everything, and he's commiserate. His friends are commiserating, and they're trying to give all these excuses. And even he tries, like, I need to have a conversation with the head guy. Like, let me talk to you.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, what do you got? And then this is what I got. And then he's like, but do you know this? Do you know this?
Yeah.
And like, you just got to humble yourself and be like, I don't understand you, but I trust you.
And the book of Job is so impactful, and like I've read it, and the one thing I've learned from it is like, and it kind of summarizes this whole episode, is that, like you said, bad things happen. But as long as my focus is taking it to God through prayer, through just looking to have honest conversation with Him, and you said humbling myself, like I can definitely look at kind of your testimony and say, like, when you hit that point where you're like, okay, I have to start taking this to Him, because now I'm at the very lowest point in my life, and Jesus is the foundation, so I need to stand on this, and I need to just take Him things. And yes, you're gonna fail. You're gonna consistently fail. You're gonna fail every day. That's why we're told to die to ourselves daily.
Yes.
But in doing that, I think it builds this habit and this relationship, at least that I've found, where I stop just like taking things at His feet and just be like, here you go, deal with it, to where it turns into like, hey, God, I have this thing, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it. Can you help me? Like, don't take it from me, because it changes from like, what am I supposed to learn, to like, I need to learn something here, God. Yeah. I need to learn. I need you to teach me. And I think
he's not a genie. He's not going to give you.
He's not going to.
If you ask for something, he's not going to give it to you. He's going to give you opportunities or give you a way to get to it. Yeah. But he's not just going to give it.
And that's something that I've learned is more apostle like. It's like, I need to learn from you. I yearn for your knowledge and your love.
You want to be a disciple.
Here's what I have. What do you have for me to learn in this moment? And I think that's something that, like, hearing your testimony and where you are, I can tell that that's evident compared to where you are now, than where you started. Is like you've taken those moments, and I've heard you kind of say those say things in that realm in conversation, whether it be with me or in some of the small groups, in the Tuesday morning small group that you come to every now and again, is like, hey, but take it to the Father and say, hey, what do we have going on? What am I supposed to be gaining from this? What are you doing? I don't need to know the end goal, but at least maybe reveal to me the path that I'm supposed to walk. And I think that's really important, and something that I think gets lost when we're trying to navigate hardship and trials and tribulations in our life.
But you also need to realize, too, that He's always there.
Always.
I mean, even though if He's quiet or if it feels like He's not, He is always there.
Yeah, that's very, very true. The title of the episode, it is Steadfast Through the Storm, and kind of looking at your life and how that transpired. And in your case, it wasn't so much your steadfastness as it was your wife and your family's, which is a beautiful thing. It's also His steadfastness and His reliability and His trustworthiness and His love that is always there, and He's always taking care of us, whether you want it or not.
Right.
It's there.
Yeah, I'm truly thankful for His pursuit. That's the one thing I can say, the way He pursued me.
Yeah.
And never gave up on me.
That's awesome. That's beautiful. I think That's a good space I think I would like to end on.
Sure.
And I think it's a natural space, but also anybody listening to this can take a moment after this and kind of ponder it and look at their own life and say, where's God at that maybe I'm not seeing? And then how do I just turn to him and run into his, like you said, into his loving arms?
Yep.
But yeah, I'd love to pray us out.
Absolutely, man.
We'll get out of here. Dear Father, we're just so grateful that you allow us to just talk about your faithfulness, your love. Thank you so much for allowing Jim to come in this morning and open his heart and give a testimony that I know will reach somebody somewhere. Father, as you continue to provide and preserve for his family, love them, extend your grace and mercy on them every single day. Father, anybody that may be consuming this on YouTube, Spotify, please just speak life and love into their heart. Let them know that you are always there. You are steadfast, faithful today, tomorrow, forever and ever. We pray all this in the name of your precious Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Hey, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, brother.